Hi, everybody, and welcome to Metaphysical Insights. I'm William Becker. I'm your host, and I have a very special guest today, Mr. Jay Parker. And Parker is somebody I've wanted on the show for a while. He's on a couple of shows on the Simply Spooky network I'm part of. He's had a fascinating life with his own development in the metaphysics and mediumship stages.
But not
Um,
understanding it though.
that I believe, um, and that's okay. And um, I'm going to let him do a lot of talking. Basically, we've gone over some ideas, and um, we're going to get a chance to hear his story and his own path of development and how it started.
Yep.
I'm okay, and because we didn't talk that part yet, and
No.
just how it goes. So,
Mm.
Parker, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's going to be an interesting show. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy talking to you, William. Like I say, you're in the Things Network and the Simply Spooky lot. So no, it's just an opportunity to you understand my path because I know that you're a medium as well. So
Right.
you'll kind of put your take on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll pretty much start though. So when I was around about five, my grandfather had a grade list two building. It was a pub, um, and when he used to go and change the barrel, I used to go down there with him when I was younger. And every time that he was changing a barrel or cleaning it, um, it was there was a little guy sitting on a barrel and he was talking to me and I didn't really think nothing of it. I didn't do you know what I mean? It didn't really appeal to me, but I just
The
saw
little
him.
boy is who was sitting on the barrel talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So over the years, like 7, 8, mate, it was round about 9, 10. I used to get when we used to go and see Grandad and Nan. I used to say to my mum, "Oh, and Grandad, do you mind if we go down the cellar because I want to go and see someone?" So, so it kept happening. I was talking back. He was there, and then it kind of went when I was going through the changes, like high school and stuff. It didn't happen at all. But mum was quite concerned because she was like, "Why do you want to keep going down to the cellar?" And I was like, "I want to see my friend," And she's like, "Well, he's got an imaginary friend," and didn't say nothing. No, everyone does, I think, in that type of age.
Hmm.
And over the years, it kind of went flat. There was no movement. There was nothing. It was only when I was in my teens, um, watching Most Haunted on the TV.
Okay.
I'd sit there in the dark room trying to scare the Jesus out myself. And but every time the telly was on, while we was watching Most Haunted, I used to get a static feeling, and I still do in my hair.
Okay.
And but now knowing from Vivian, because it wouldn't if I didn't explain or didn't meet Vivian, I'd still probably I wouldn't know what was going on if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
You know.
Hmm.
So that happened, and then me and my friend got quite involved and saw really Vivian on TV on ITV, one of our channels on
Regular
telly.
TV program.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they did a massive research about something. I really can't remember it. So we got my friend got her details. So
Hmm.
she come down to my friend's house because we was going to start up our own ghost team. Wanted to know what equipment we needed, what insurances we had to get, all that type of stuff, so we could be ready to go out.
Right.
So I went out for a cigarette, and Vivian says, "Oh, I'm going to come with you." Oh, that's fine, more the merrier kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so we was just talking, and I was telling her I will go back to one bit of part what I've missed out.
Hmm.
So I was, like I said, I was in my teens. I went to my best mate's house through the evening, like for the day, and come back late early over the weekend. And my house is a Victorian house where mum and dad live.
Hmm.
And so my bedroom's at the front of the house, and our stairway's quite steep.
Right.
And so I was laying in bed, fell asleep. And you know when you're in bed and you think someone's here, you get that really expected of someone's watching you. You get that really cold shiver,
Yep.
and I could hear someone up the top of the stairs, and I'm like, I'm not getting out. I'm not getting out. Ever since I've done that, well, that's happened. Well, that night, my my great nan went into mum and dad's bedroom, and I could you not, I went under them covers, and I was like, oh, what have I just seen? So that was kind of a shock to the system.
How old were you then?
It was around about 17, 18.
Okay.
So I had no drink. I wasn't drunk or nothing.
Right.
Um, and then I spoke to mum in the morning, and I was like, I've just seen Great Nan on the top of the stairs. And she was like, nah, nah. I said, look, that was Nan. We've got pictures everywhere in the house. Mum loves pictures. I said, look, that was Great Nan on top of the stairs. Rah, rah, rah. And then, so yeah, so that was that part. So I'm
Did
just
your mom
jumping.
believe you?
In a way, yes, but in a way, no.
Okay. It's hard
um,
to take in.
yeah.
Hmm.
So so we did that, and then like I say, we went to. So I'm going back to me and Viv having a cigarette in the outside, and so yeah, she was reading stuff off. I was telling her what experiences I've had, like seeing a little boy in my granddad's pub, the ecstatic in my hair, seeing my great nan at the top of the stairs. And then she started reeling off because I didn't know she was a medium at the time, and she was reeling stuff off. So granddad passed away, and then 6 months later, one of my good friends that I went to school with, um, he passed away as well with bone cancer.
Oh no.
And she was reeling stuff off. She was reeling my granddad's name, and then she was like, "Hang on a minute, Jay, who's Terry?" I'm like, "Oh shit, it's granddad's name." And then she was like, "Oh, who's Sam?" Well, that was my good friend from school. So I was just like, you don't know, I've only known you like half hour, and you're reeling stuff off that
Right.
do you know what I mean? So I was quite intrigued. And then we went to a location. We did our first ghost hunt with Viv and her old team. And
Okay.
then we was talking. She started like talking to me how I can open up and close my chakras and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
that was quite interesting because I knew that I was safe with Viv's hands.
Right.
I knew I could trust her,
Right.
and I was in a good place if, fingers crossed, that nothing happened. And do you know what I mean? So I felt quite chilled out.
Right. She would know
And
what to do.
exactly,
And
yeah. So
yeah.
as the safety side, I was like, oh, if you're here, that's fine.
Hmm.
Um, so that went on. That was great. And then we went to her neck of the woods, to the Ruffham, which is the one of
The Air
the
Force Base.
Air Force Base, the
Yeah,
8th
I've
Air
been there
Force,
myself.
which is really interesting. Um,
Yes.
really, really interesting. And then we heard the lady's voice outside the tower, really posh English voice. And then four of us decided to go over on the airfield, which is quite haunted itself because you had all the lads working, all the crew, the maintenance crew working outside, and it was concrete at the time. You could hear like metal hitting the floor on the concrete.
Okay.
And then Viv turned around and said straight in front. Well, she was behind. And then she said, there's like three of us, but there's another shadow like next to, I think it was me or who, I
Okay.
can't remember who it was, but she said there's four people walking up and there was only three of us, obviously including Viv was four, but she was behind.
Right.
And so yeah, so that was that. And then we saw a shadow like further on and they were like, we need to go and chase, like try and, I wouldn't say chase it, but
See if you can
see
find it,
see
who it
see
is.
we could find it. Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
finding who it was, and then so that was a really interesting night. And then I got Viv's number because I was experiencing stuff yet again. So then I was on the phone for 2-3 hours explaining, and she was saying you need to do this, this, and this. Make sure you ground properly. Go on a walk. So I go on a walk. Like I said to you before we went live, that I go to Bank Station,
Right.
which is a tube station in London, and then we go off at St James's Park, and then we go to a park bench, and that's where I sit, chill out, and that's when my guide comes through. So I'll come back to that in a minute. So how I met my guide was in Liverpool
Oh,
and the Albert Dock. As we
that
were growing up,
explains a lot.
yeah.
Okay.
So, what do you mean by? What do you mean? What's your take on that?
Your guide had a question about the part of the state I live in and
Yes,
its reflection or connection to slavery, if any.
yes, because he
Albert
was.
Dock was a lot, it was a, or Liverpool Docks was a big area for a very long time of the
Yes,
British involvement in that
yes.
market.
Mhm.
So,
So yes, there was a couple of clipper ships in the dock. So we went on board to have a look round. So that was the connection with my guide. So my guide is a tall Victorian gentleman, like he's proper. He's in his suit. He's in his waistcoat. He's got him. So you know, like the if I do with my collar, don't tell me off Viv with my collar. So he has his collar, you know, like the shirts with the collar up, and
right,
then he has his tie here.
right.
So his collar's like up and then bent
Hmm.
over, and then he's
Yep.
got his tie here, his waistcoat. He's got his pocket watch. He's got a
Hmm.
massive trilby hat on, that sits obviously on his head. And he's also got a cane with like a gold top on it,
Yeah,
and
walking
then
stick,
like
I think.
a flat bottom.
Right.
So that's how. So obviously Viv was teaching me how to open up, open my chakras, close my doors, ground myself, um, and then so yeah. So I got to know him. So he was an owner of the clipper ship, which he was a cotton seller.
Aha. That even
So
makes more sense with this question.
with the question that I said to you in the
Yes.
previous when we spoke before
Mhm.
we went live,
Right.
and so yeah, so that happened. So that was the connection with the guide. Have you got any questions? Because I'm getting dry throat here.
Oh, no, this is interesting. Um, I'm wondering, do you know if he was active before the Civil War, during the Civil War, after the Civil War, or all three, or any combination?
I haven't got that far yet. I haven't really asked him. So next time I chill out, I will ask him for you.
Okay, good,
If I can
because
get
that
some
would,
dates, then brilliant. But he doesn't. I think it was during, like, so before the slave trade started.
well, the cotton didn't happen until after the slaves started.
But they,
Because that was in the 1600s.
I'll get that information for you if I
Yeah,
can.
because they needed, I mean, from the Americas anyway, the slaves were the labor to grow the cotton.
Mm, yeah.
That's a big part of why that whole horrific thing started.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still. I mean, we're still. Not only are the people of descendants
Mm,
of them still paying that price, but
exactly.
so
Yeah.
is society as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But anyway, yeah. Couple of beers in the fridge. Can you grab them out for pork, please? Yeah. Hang on a minute. Sorry.
sure.
Sorry about this.
No problem.
Let me just put you down.
Okay. Are you making me a sandwich? We'll be right back, folks. We'll
I
have.
do apologise about
It's okay. Did you make me a sandwich?
that. No, I didn't make you a butty. No. So yeah.
Geez.
So that was the connection with the guide in Liverpool.
Okay.
So, and then I was on investigations, and I knew that he was with me because he used to put his trilby hat across my head, so I used to get pain right across here. So he's kind of
Okay.
like shoved it on, and I get pressure, and I still do get pressure across my forehead.
Right.
So if I'm not listening to him or paying attention to him, he will tap his cane. You know, he will tap
Hmm.
because he's very. He thinks that he's quite well off, very well off, and me being me, which is I'm lower down, like from him.
You're a working class guy. You
Yeah,
you you work with your to make your money, and
exactly. He's
yeah,
made his money, so he doesn't really. He's
and he
not
didn't
worried if
work
that
the
makes
same
sense.
way. Yeah.
No.
Hmm.
So yeah. So even when we go on investigations, he puts Trilby across my head like that, and I know he's here because he puts his Trilby on. And if I'm not listening to him or paying attention, excuse me, he will tap his cane on the floor or against my leg just to say, "Oi, I'm listening. You know, I'm talking to you."
He actually
So
really likes you, and
yeah,
he
he does. Yeah,
considers this. He's doing this out of affection and wanting to mentor you,
yeah,
is what I pick up
mm. Yeah,
because I've got a picture of him. I'm assuming it's the right guy, but
yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Has he got glasses the like really thin glasses?
I hadn't noticed the glasses. I was looking. Has a goatee. His face is kind of thin, not
Mm.
super thin, but thinnish.
Yeah,
Um, um, gray in the facial hair.
yeah,
Can't
yeah.
see the side. I'm just seeing straight on, so I don't
Straight
know
on. Yeah,
about side whiskers or anything much.
yeah.
Um, the hat. Um, he actually rose up through the ranks himself. He actually did some pretty hard physical labor himself, I think, to get where he got.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
wasn't just being born into it, I don't think.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I think he had
Um,
a rough time,
yeah.
but I'm still getting there with him because he doesn't really like talking about the past, like
Yeah.
how his background of family. I haven't really spoke to him about that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. If he knows you're open to it
Oh
and
yeah,
non-judgmental, but
no,
I can see where it's something maybe he doesn't want to talk about.
I can understand that. Yeah. So Vivian comes in a massive like she's done me wonders because she didn't have to. I could have paid her to with her knowledge because she went through schooling like paying someone, going to church, doing a
Mhm.
church circle. Do you know? So I did try church circles, but it kind of I was bouncing off everyone, but it wasn't like I was learning much,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I kind of took well, I took Vivian on board, and I hope she put me on board, if that makes sense. It was like, oh,
Right.
not Jay again, or I don't, you know. But without her, I wouldn't be where I'd be now, if that makes sense. I would just passed it across the hat, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, she's one of the few people in the world that I do work with and do events or anything with because she's good and I trust her.
Exactly. So
You
do I.
know.
You know, we've got that friendship now. I
Oh
know
yeah.
we wind each other up, but when it comes to it, she will still kick my ass, if that makes
Oh yeah.
sense. You know,
Yeah.
she will, because she's very stern, and you know she's very stern and very good what she does. Um, and she's kind of, I think she's seen it in myself that I can be like that, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But like I said to you before we went live, it's not that I disbelieve that and I don't trust myself,
Right.
if that makes sense. Because, and she's like, I'm going to kick your ass in a minute. You know, you've got to believe that it is what it is.
Right. And it
You know.
takes a long time for people to really understand that they can do it and they're good and they're right.
Mm,
Because a lot of times we're afraid of being wrong,
yeah.
and there are just so many reasons why it's hard to accept. I mean, I worked on this for 45 years maybe before I
Mm,
went professional
mm,
and started charging and for
yeah.
teaching and readings.
Teaching meetings and that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a lot of people pushing me, including my therapist, for a long time to
Mm,
go professional before I did. But then I had the breakthrough events that said, okay, yes, I'm finally ready.
yeah.
So I say that just because I get it,
Yeah. I see what you're
you know.
saying. Yeah. So yeah. So
Yeah.
that's how me and Viv got very close, going on investigations and trusting someone to do it, like to go
Mhm.
with, to understand. You know, we have so, and then Daniel come on the scene.
Mhm.
I've only known Daniel about, I'm going to say 5 years, but
Okay.
I've known Vivian for four, 13 or 14 years.
Okay.
So it's a long time in
Yeah.
the paranormal field.
Well,
Um,
in life in general.
well,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, but it's just me getting her number to help me, you
Right.
know. Um, and obviously a love of paranormal and all the cryptics, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, so then I moved on with to Viv's group with Daniel as well. So
Mhm.
it's kind of, it's going that way, if that makes sense. I'm enjoying it.
Good.
You know, but yeah, I'm really enjoying the path at the moment. You know,
Mhm.
with the guys and doing the Tuesday night shows with them,
Yeah.
and because I go quiet on the shows because some, you know, like obviously with the Bigfoot, I'm not really in. I'm into the cryptics and Bigfoot and everything else, but I don't know the knowledge like Dan and Viv do.
Right.
So I'm sucking that information in, and then I'm like, oh, I know this, and this. Do you
Right.
know? And yes, it's kind of very interesting. And I don't know if you saw the show Tuesday.
I think I did at least part of it.
Mm.
What was the show Tuesday about? You have to remind me.
About high behinds
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff
I
like.
saw part. I
Yeah,
saw part of it. I got
yeah,
in a few minutes late, and I couldn't watch the whole thing.
yeah.
But
So yeah, we was talking about that, but it was kind of, we know because we've experienced that on investigations. Um,
why
you
don't you
know,
tell people what you mean by hide behinds?
so it's so it's like if you've gone on an investigation, you think, have I just seen that? Like, and it's gone round the corner and then it's gone back. That's what hide behind is. It's a spirit who's having a look, but then he's like, oh, I'm not too sure. So you'll go back.
Hmm.
Um, we've seen a few. So when we went to Woodchester Mansion,
Right.
so it was my birthday weekend. I turned 38.
Ah.
So we decided that we was going down to Gloucester for the weekend. So we did the Woodchester Mansion on the Friday night, I think, or no, Saturday night, and then we went to the Ancient Ram on the Sunday night.
Okay.
I can't remember; it's 2 years ago, so it's
Right.
been quite a few.
It's that long ago.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember hearing and stuff about it quite a lot,
yeah.
so didn't realize it was that long.
Feels like a couple of weeks ago we've just come back. That's how it kind of. You've been on a great weekend. You didn't want to
Right.
go back home, but you still remember stuff. Looking at the pictures, the conversations we had, the
Hmm.
experiences we've had. I think you guys already know the story that I'll be going to tell you in a minute, but it's kind of how I felt. Viv was laughing; she absolutely wet herself. But Dan was in the kit, like where the base was in the kitchen. Oh, that's right. Jay's only just fallen over or done this, so he was wetting himself because he thought that I've fell over and I've hurt myself, and that's why Viv's laughing. But that wasn't the case,
Right.
you know. So it was
Well,
very
and
cold.
Viv shouldn't laugh because I've got stories on her getting scared out of her mind.
But or we can keep that. You can tell me him, and I can use that as ammunition. But
Yeah.
so so we went in Woodchester Mansion, and shall I tell you the bit before I go on investigations that I'm starting?
Yeah, go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a couple of weeks before we decided that we was going,
Hmm.
and they got the tickets and obviously paid the money in the hotel and stuff. And a couple of days before, I got picked up where I am now,
Hmm.
waiting for Daniel to take us to Viv's. And so before I go on an investigation, it's quite weird because then I start picking up on the building and the layout of the building. So it will kind of, I'll tell them before even I've been there what the layout is. So
Right.
you've been to Woodchester Mansion, so you've got to go down you go through the big iron gates,
Right.
and it's like a mile and a half down in the valley before you get there to the mansion. Well,
Yeah, and
I
it's a
haven't been
long
there.
walk,
Yeah,
into
yeah. So
on
we
the
drove
gravel
down.
road, and I was there during the daylight regular hours, so there was actually a little trolley that would take you
Yeah,
back and forth to the car park.
yeah. So I didn't even know. I just told them you have to go through some big metal gates down the lane for a quarter of a mile. And then the layout of like the car park and where the mansion was, it was on the side,
Hmm.
and there was a massive lake in front of that. So yeah, it was quite interesting how it happens every time we go on an investigation. I'll ring up with him and said, "Oh, this, and this, that's where we go." She'll say, "Oh, we're going here," and then like I say, like the first couple of days, I'm like, "Well, what's this happening? Why is this so? And why am I seeing this person coming through?
Right.
Has he got a connection to this venue, or
Hmm.
hasn't he not?" And I'll explain to Viv, this is what this is here, this is here. I've just seen this fella, so it's kind of interlinked with the building.
Right. And it's great that you're telling her because that way you've got a witness
Mm,
and such that you were reading this ahead of time.
mm,
It's not your imagination when you get there
no,
saying, "Oh, I saw this." You've got for yourself and for others that, yeah,
yeah,
you really did see this in advance.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
In the sense you remote viewed.
yeah. So we got there, but the night before I stayed at mum and dad's, and in my old room, this fella come through,
Hmm.
and he was dressed in all in tweed, looked like a farmer, had like the old farm, like half cheese hat.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't think nothing of it. I spoke to Viv. I said, "Yeah, this gentleman come through, right, right, right." And then I spoke to the fella that does the tours in the mansion. I said, "Oh, I saw him last night." He said, "Yeah, he's been seen in the drawing room." So I was like, "Well, I weren't seeing what
Hmm.
I was seeing. I knew I think kind of put it two and two that he was from the mansion. So it wasn't me seeing stuff. It was the connection from the mansion to the fella that I saw."
Right.
So which was quite interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we've gone down, parked up, went to the toilet, had a walk round. It was absolutely freezing cold in December.
Yes, it would
Um,
be.
so when we were there, it started snowing like down in the mansion, whereas it's down in the valley, isn't it? So it's very
Yes.
cold. The mansion's a limestone building, I think.
I don't remember.
I think it's limestone.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we was
And they
just
probably
walking
don't do
around.
heat much of it. I mean, only a few rooms are furnished, if I remember right.
That's correct. They still
And
are, yeah.
so those are the only places that really have to focus on
Mm,
keeping warm and dry.
yeah, exactly. You still had like the scaffolding outside and inside where they
Hmm.
hadn't finished, and so yeah, so that happened, and we was just walking around, and to where you go like through the door, and it was if you went left, that's where you'd go down where the basement is. It's a massive long corridor. As we was walking through, you know when you want to investigate, you look round and you think, oh, that's not bad. Then you'll see
Right.
something like going across, and I said to Chris, I said, "Oh, I've just seen a little boy," and he said, "Yeah, yeah, he's well known around here. He will start playing tricks, and he would want to know what's going on, and he's quite a playful lad." So anyway, I
Right.
didn't think nothing of it. We're going round. We made a cuppa. It was like, right, we're going to go and investigate. So we went back where the doorway is to go through. We did some experiments, but I can't remember. It's where we put the mask on with the lights.
Oh,
Can't remember.
I
This,
can't
this, this,
remember.
this was the first time that I tried it. It was
Hmm.
quite interesting.
Right.
And then we stayed there. We got a little bit of activity, but not a lot. So we was like, well, we'll move on. So down one of the corridors, we went right. So back in the war, that's where they kept all the soldiers, like injuring at. But it was
Oh, so
actually
was that used as a? I can't
a
remember.
mortuary.
Was that a
It was
hospital?
no, it was used as a mortuary. So when they've died on, they've come if they've lost their life at war, they used to put them in there, and
Which war?
I think it was the second
Okay.
Second World War,
Okay.
because it used to have the water going through. It was like a freezer room
Okay.
because it had the whole pipes, the water system going through to keep it cool.
Hmm.
So we put the chair there in front. I said to Viv, I'm not having that. I'm going to go a little bit further before the door because I don't know. I'm a bit weary about sitting in doorways.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask me why. I do not know. It's just the thing that I have on investigations because I can't see that side. So I didn't know who's going to be there. If there's, you know what I mean? It's kind of
Right.
a fear factor.
Hmm.
So I said to Viv, "No, I'm moving forward." They started laughing. I said, "Well, it is what it is. I'm going to do
Right.
it." So we did another investigation. So on my boots, there was like water under it, and we
Okay.
couldn't explain. Once we'd done the experiment, I got up, and Dan was like, "Jay, there's water on the floor." I'm like, "Well, I haven't been outside. We haven't been anywhere to get any moisture or any water droplets on my um on my boots." So
Okay.
that was quite weird. That was just like, okay, it was quite weird how that worked.
Right.
We couldn't explain it, what actually happened while I had like water under my boots.
Yeah.
Does that make
That's
sense?
interesting. Oh,
Mm.
it does. And I've, well, I volunteer in a house that that used to be one of the things that happened there frequently.
Mm.
Is they thought the roof leaked in this one area, and it didn't. It's just that water would be on the floor.
Mm.
And
Yeah. So, have you got any questions before I carry on?
let me see. With this, okay, now one of the things I was wondering if my memory is correct, because now it's been 6 or 7 years since I've been to Woodchester.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly. Maybe slightly longer. But that was they tore down an older house to build that, didn't they? Wasn't
that's
there a
correct.
Jacobean place or a house that had been remodeled in the Jacobean style that they pulled down?
Yeah, they pulled down and then they built built the mansion, but never finished it off.
Right. And some of that was because the workers were too afraid.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't remember if they ran out of money or not, but I think he died too before it
Yeah, I
was done.
think there was family issues and the money, and they didn't want to have that, so I think they just left and still had the mansion in bits, really.
Yeah. I know they finished the chapel so the Pope could visit.
Hmm.
I think that's correct. But okay, I just wanted to put all the pieces because then it comes to mind how much is associated with the current location and how much is associated with what was there before that house. And since the workmen were getting freaked out and running
Hmm.
away, I would assume most of it has to do with the property or before that house was built.
Yeah.
When you go down into now I was there in the spring, it might have been summer, but spring or summer. And so very different than December with snow falling.
Yeah.
But it was just eerie. It was pretty,
Hmm.
but I remember thinking, what a strange place to build a house. Who
Yeah. It
would
was.
want to live in this feeling?
Hmm.
Um, I
But
don't know.
I think the feeling is if they still kept the same original house
Mhm.
because they knocked it down. I think that's where all the activity started. Someone
Yeah,
didn't like it,
yeah.
and they were like, "No, we're getting rid of this. We're going to build afresh." And I think that's where all the trouble started, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. And
Mm.
the previous house may have been haunted too. Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, that might have been. Well, no, people tore down things all the time to make themselves look richer,
no, exactly.
and it was easier, cheaper sometimes than fixing what was there.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's been long enough that I can't remember all the history.
So yeah, then we saw the clock that was on the clock face up on the tower,
Oh, that's right. I
and
forgot.
then the army lads used to use it as target practice because there was a few bullet holes. I took a few pictures of that,
Uh-huh.
but when I look back to put it in my folder, none of them are there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, none of them are there. So so I don't know where they went. But yeah,
That's
so we carried
strange.
on. Sorry.
That's strange
Yeah, that was very weird, and
because you took pictures after, and those were there.
yeah, took
Okay.
them. So yeah, so it was. Then we went down the basement. That was quite because they got chains and that on the wall. We had a few bits of activity going there, like people touching the chains and stuff like that, but it wasn't as bad. So we walked back up the stairs, and I can't remember who was in front, but me and Dan were behind. Dan was in front of me. I heard a massive roar. It sounded like a dog. Um, I don't know if it was like someone roaring in my ear roll.
Okay.
And I said to Dan, I said, "Yeah, see you later." And I ran up them stairs quicker than he could get up to the top. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm not staying behind that. That's no way."
Every man for themselves.
Oh yeah, he's a big enough lad to take care of himself. So I was like, "Yeah, see you
Uh,
later, Dan. I'm out of there." But yeah, everyone was having food and a cup of tea and that. So we went out. Me and Viv went out for a walk, and as you come out of the kitchen, we went right, and there's like a spiral staircase, so you could go up on the second floor.
Right.
So we didn't go there. We just had a look at the vouchers, like the tourist guides where you can do in Gloucester, and we was just saying, oh, that'd be good to, because we kind of had like a free morning on the Saturday before we, on the Sunday before we went to the Ram Inn.
Right.
So we was just planning what to have breakfast, or what can we do to break that time before we went to the Ram.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so there we was just talking, and we was like on the ledge, and I was like down, and yeah, so like there's massive corridor going down, and like I said, there was a little boy we've seen as we are coming through down in this corridor,
Hmm.
and I have jumped. Well, I'm only 5'5", so I'm a quite small lad, and I've jumped probably about 6.5 foot up.
What?
I've gone up, and I've kind of like, oh, what's going on? And my hand is still like in the clasp position.
Uh-huh.
So I've kind of jumped up, but then moved aside, and my hand is still in the clasp position as I was getting dragged, and my hand was like really ice cold because I said to Viv, "Hold my hand," and she was like, "Jay, it was really, really, really cold." All right, it was a cold night anyway, but it was ice cold than what it was.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And yeah, Viv's she's wet herself, absolutely wet herself, because she's kind of got scared herself. So you know what Vivian's like. She laughs before she's like, oh, what's the matter? What's happened? And then the old chuckle in the kitchen, Dan
Uh-huh.
saying that's all right. Jay's only probably fallen over, and Viv's laughing at him. Well, no, and then obviously I've gone in and we've explained and told him what was happening. He was like, really? I was like, well, yeah, I wouldn't made a noise for no reason at all.
Well, and you were
So
actually you were being pulled,
yeah, yeah.
and
So by
and
this
you
child,
and the jump was you jumping because
I was,
of
yeah, because it was pitch black. There was
right.
a bit of light coming from the kitchen light and down in the hallway,
Hmm.
but I haven't experienced. I've been touched a few times, but not in that way where I've been physically touched, like my hand being like dragged away. Do you
Yeah.
know? You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of in the motion that, oh, has that actually happened, or was I imagining it? If that makes sense.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, you've heard the story hundreds of times, but the guys on here probably haven't. But but yeah, it's kind of because I'll keep that now forever, because seeing Viv's face, then if she told me the story, it's like, Jay, I saw your face and you started filling up, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, we have that kind of banter, and then if I'm winding her up, she's like, I've seen you at Mansion. Do you know what I mean? So she'll kind of
Yeah.
use that against me. Um, but yeah, that was very interesting. And so we was locking up, so we could go back to the hotel room, where you come down the same hallway when you go like through and then left down into the basement. That was
Hmm.
all getting locked off with the gates and stuff.
Right.
And I was with the lad that organises the ghost hunts there, and down the hall we looked exactly the same time, and we saw that little boy run across the hallway, like down where the doorway was. And
Okay.
I turned around, he turned around and said, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Did you see it?" And he was like, "Yeah, I said I did." I was like, "Well, I wasn't seeing stuff then." Um, so that was quite interesting. That was like the third time that he showed himself.
And those were physical sightings and not psychic sightings.
No, physical,
Yeah.
physical sightings that we physically saw.
Yeah. That
Um,
takes a lot of energy for them to do that. I always
mm,
consider them I feel very grateful when they go to that much work.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it was quite hard to explain because what Chris was saying, that he's very active, but we saw him twice, but then physically had the energy, if that made sense. When he
right.
pulled me along, trying to take my hand.
I was wondering
Um,
if he was the one that did that.
I think he was.
Yeah.
Um, Even me and Viv talk about it still. She put a
Hmm.
bottom dollar on it that it was that little boy wanted to show
Yeah.
me something, or but I didn't investigate it. I didn't. Once that happened, I didn't. I just froze. I didn't want to go and chase it. If that makes sense. I didn't want
Right.
to go investigate where he was going to take me. I was probably down the hallway and do a left. That's what I reckon.
Yeah. Well,
But
how many investigators have disappeared and never been seen again? I mean, you can
exactly.
look at that, ask that question, and you'll find out next time if it's safe to follow the little boy, or if you
Well,
do
yeah, I
so,
should have
your
done,
life
but
will
I was too busy with
vanish.
being a bit scared. And I'll do admit, I was scared. You know, it was the first experience that I had being touched, and then I was
Well,
like,
and especially being tried to be drug away.
mm,
That's even different than just being touched.
yeah,
Um,
exactly, yeah,
that's that's an act where you have to think, okay, now is this threatening, or
mm,
is this just come with me? I want to go play basketball or something,
yeah,
you know.
exactly, yeah.
Um,
But yeah, so that was interesting. And then the Sunday night we went to the Ancient Ram, which was I've heard about it. I've heard what people have experienced, but I didn't. I've only took that as like a penny drop. You know what? Just people say this, people say that. It was kind of hearsay that I didn't
right.
really take it on board. But Viv was saying this is the place that you don't want to open up, and she would, in her words, I would kick your ass, Parker, if you
Okay.
did. Do you know? Because it was quite. Um, it was one of you know when you go into a venue where you get that instant awe. You've got that feeling about it. You've got the I don't feel welcome in here, if that makes sense. You know,
Yeah, it
it was kind
does.
of, and you look everywhere and you think you're being watched. You think, you know, when you look around the corner, you think, oh, did I just see that? Or do you know what I mean? It was kind of that eerie place where kind of, should I actually be here? But
Right.
I still want to be here because I want to investigate it. You know, we always went a pair of twos. Um, like going to the toilet and stuff like that. Um, and when we went there and sat down and chilled out for a bit, Viv got a very like smell of fish, and she kind of barged everyone out and she said, "I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick." And I went out to see her. I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm." That fish smell that kind of put me off, and I had to bring it up.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so it was interesting.
Yeah.
So me and Dan and Viv, we did a experiment with the headphones with the white noise going through it,
Okay.
and it was in the bishop's room. And I've heard loads of stories. I've heard what people experienced. But yeah, again, I kind of put that as a pinch of salt because I've heard stuff, but it's never happened to me. So until it's
Right.
happened to me, I'll take that as gospel. Do you know if that makes
Right.
sense?
Oh, it does.
Um,
I'm very much a skeptic.
mm,
I'm a firm believer, but I'm skeptical.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so I get
that's
it.
so there was two single beds either side. Um, you know when you was a child when you go into a mattress, but the springs you sink.
Right.
It's an old fashioned bed with the old wire mesh across it as the
Mhm.
springs.
Right.
So we sat down there. Was like, oh, that's not too bad, and then we kind of started, and all of a sudden, so the bed was here, and where my nose is, that's where me and Viv were sitting. So here and here,
Uh-huh.
because the beds were facing like that. So either side there was a bed, but we were standing on the right hand side of or the left hand side as you walk through. We sat down and we're doing our and I've tapped Viv on the side because we felt someone dip into the bed, like sat down next to us.
Right.
And I took that out. I said, no, I'm not doing that. That did freak me out. And I'm like, that's like, yeah, again, that's the first time that's ever happened to me. I've had someone sit down on a bed next to me, like in between me and Viv, and then sink down.
Yeah.
I was like, nah,
I know the
no,
feeling.
I'm not having that.
I've had it happen to me while I've been in bed. Just go to
I have,
bed, haven't turned off the lamp yet, and
yeah.
somebody sits down on the bed by you, and it's like, okay, just let me sleep. I thank you for letting me know you're here. That's
Yeah,
fine. I'm going to sleep now. Don't wake me up.
yeah. But Mum kind of gets it with the dog. When our old family dog,
Uh-huh.
he used to sleep with Mum and Dad in the bed, and yeah, she kind of feels him going on the bed and just
Yeah.
flopping. He never used to lay down. He used to just flop.
Okay.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
didn't sit down. He just, oh, I'm here now, so I'm gonna just lay down.
Okay.
So yeah, so we had that, and that kind of got me a bit, ooh,
Uh-huh.
EBGBs. And we just carried on, but it was that atmosphere. It wasn't. It was okay, but it was just you felt watched. You felt determined. That you felt a bit anxious as well, if I can say that.
Right.
A bit anxious, and it was like I'm looking around, and so like towards the end of the night, we had to turn the lights off, but no one would go and turn upstairs lights off. That we weren't doing it at all. We just kept the lights on.
Everybody was too afraid.
Everyone didn't want to go.
Even as a group.
Even the group that we was with, yeah, it was
I
just
mean,
like
so you
we
couldn't get
wouldn't.
2 or 3 people to go all together.
No, no, we
Okay.
didn't even do it. So I think we've written a note to say that we haven't taken the lights off. I do apologise. I think she did put a note to apologise that we didn't turn the lights off.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's very interesting for the
Oh, that
weekend.
sounds like it.
Mm,
Now, what I do with my students is when they have and they notice there's somebody there, see if you can make contact.
mm,
See if you can find out who it is. Can you get a visual here or
yeah,
communicate and talk?
but
Sometimes you
not,
can, sometimes you can't.
yeah.
Um,
But yeah, Viv,
but
Viv warned me like even before we went there not to open up because she would beat me up physically.
okay,
Um, but yeah, but no. Apart from that, it's this year. I think it's going to be interesting. We've got a few venues that we're going to do in the summer and in the winter as well. So I'm just looking forward to it as well. It's just going to be very interesting, and plus the shows that we do as well. So yeah,
yeah,
it's. Um, so the Wednesday they had the zoologist guy, the cryptic guy. That was interesting. I only watched a
right,
little bit, but I've met him when me, Viv, and Viv's husband went down to Bristol for
okay,
the Bigfoot convention there.
right,
That was interesting. That was very interesting.
yeah,
I only watched a little bit, but I haven't had time to replay on the Wednesday.
yeah. I watched a
So
little of it too. He looked interesting.
mm,
Um,
very intelligent guy.
yeah, which is
Have you?
nice to see because you don't always get that in this field.
No,
You
no,
get a lot of
exactly.
people with ideas and nothing behind them.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know if we've got any questions before we go, have we? Or
well,
have you got any questions you want to ask me? Or
I've got, um, yeah, actually a couple of them. But I was also wondering, you wanted me to give you some ammunition.
yeah,
Do you want me to do that on air or off air?
do it off air, so
Okay,
then she won't know about it. That's if she's watching it, or she might watch it on catch up. So it
okay,
gives me ammunition. Um, when you close the show down,
Then
then I
I'll
can
give it
have
to you
them.
then.
Yeah, so I can
Okay,
have some
that
ammunition
sounds good.
back. Maybe Tuesday. You might hear it Tuesday.
Yeah.
To get my own back.
Well, I know you have a child. I'm not going to get into specifics because I don't like to
No, that's
put
fine.
children out online unless their parents do it. Um, is your child interested in this at all? Have they
He's
picked up part
very,
of their dad's?
he's he's very, very interested in Bigfoot. Very, very interesting. So when I go over and look after him, he'll say, "Oh, Dad, can we watch Bigfoot?" So we're watching Bigfoot on YouTube.
Hmm.
And then he keeps saying, "Oh, can we go to Loch Ness because he wants to feed the Nessie?" Which I'm try to explain to an 8-year-old that Nessie is real, but he doesn't come often.
Right,
But trying to explain to him is like, well, I want to go to Loch Ness to feed Nessie, like with fish food and stuff like that. And so yeah, so he loves it all. He loves the
right.
Bigfoot. He absolutely loves Bigfoot.
What about the
Um,
ghosts?
I'm not pushing him in. If he don't, he don't. I'm not.
No, I was just
I'm.
wondering if he's experienced or expressed interest. Because
Um. So yes. He. So when I come back from France, I I got given some ball bearings that were in the ammunition of a shell.
okay,
What the British used to do. So like the ball bearings, once they exploded, the ball bearings used to come out and do a
hmm,
lot more damage.
right,
So I had that, a couple of tips of a bullet, couple of
hmm,
bullets, and a bit of metal, probably about that big, of
hmm,
shrapnel. And I kept it in my room, and so his room used to be next door to ours, and he used to wake up occasionally and was like, "Yeah, He used to get up and come in our room. He
hmm.
said that it was a man in there and stuff like that. So, do you know Ant, who goes on Simply Spooky sometimes, the Dutch guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he gave me a reading offline, and he did mention that in my boy's room that there was someone there looking
Okay.
after him. So yeah, so that was, I suppose I put that two and two together, really.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, as long as he keeps enjoying Bigfoot and he's got an interest, you know.
Yeah, and certainly wasn't thinking to push, but just and especially with mediumship abilities and things, people have them.
Yeah.
They, I mean, I think everybody does, but they run in families sometimes more strongly. And I know some people had a hard time with it, but from what
Mm.
I've gotten, mostly it's because nobody was explaining to them what was going on. Nobody
No,
believed them,
no.
and so they were in trouble all the time.
Yeah. So
And
like,
I
so
don't have a
like
kid, but
sorry.
pardon me.
No, so I was like explaining like my childhood was quite good because it
Yeah,
it only happened to start, the middle, and the end, if that makes sense.
yeah,
It wasn't
and well, and
constant.
you weren't abused because of it,
No, no, exactly.
and some people were,
Yeah,
and so they have a different. And so my attitude has always been that, well, if
it is
if a
what it
kid's
is.
having interest in experiences,
Mm.
um, don't deny that they're having the experiences, but
Yeah.
help them to understand so they're not scared, and
No, that's
help them
it.
understand when they should talk about it and when they shouldn't,
Yeah.
you know, and that
No,
way
that's
it
it.
keeps the other kind of stuff around.
Mm.
But yeah, I just and everybody's different, but
Yeah.
um, um, I'm not thinking of. Do you have any questions for me right now?
Not at the moment because I'll probably ask Viv to get you on Things Network or something like that, so we can interview you like you've done
Yeah.
to me.
Okay.
Like your experiences, how you become a medium, what was your first trial of how did you become what was your experiences like when you was growing up as a kid, so all that type of stuff, but I'll sort that out with Biv, and then I'll text you and
Okay.
let you know what the plan is.
Okay. That sounds
But
great.
even like Simply Spooky, if they haven't got anyone, I'll ask Vivian on Tuesday, say that I'll interview you, all three of us or whatever, if we can do it on Things Network or Simply Spooky. So yeah, my time will come to listen to you and be interested in what your take is, and then yeah.
So you'll be grilling me instead of, the other. I'll be in the hot seat. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I try to be nice to people I have on the show. It's because I'm afraid of
Have you got
reciprocal.
any more questions before you wrap this up?
I don't think I do. This has been fascinating.
No,
I'd like maybe a quick idea of, and I don't keep necessarily just to an hour, but um, where do you plan on going from here or with it?
I'm still gonna ride the journey out. To be fair,
Okay,
um, yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna do it because I'm interested in it and I like it. I'm not
right,
scared anymore,
good.
so I'm kind of trusted. Um, I'm not gonna do any circuit. I'm not gonna do like churches or anything like that.
No need to.
No, I don't. I'm not saying I don't. I'm not being horrible, but I don't want to. If that makes sense.
It does.
Um, I don't. I'm not in that bracket to do it. You
Well,
know.
it's a whole different thing too.
So yeah, I'm quite interested. I'm quite interested in what I do
Hmm.
as a paranormal investigator, and just take my journey how it comes.
Right. That's fantastic. Well, I
Hmm.
really appreciate having you on,
No, you're welcome. I really
and
appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm glad you offered. Um,
Well, I didn't know what you had planned, so I knew that I wasn't doing anything today. So I was like, well, maybe you need a
yeah. No,
guest. I didn't know if you said no, sorry, Parker, but I've got a guest, then we'll do it another time. I
right.
wasn't too worried, but when you said no, we can do it on the 15th, I was like, yeah, I'm free. We'll do it then,
Yeah, that's great. But I
which was
appreciate the
interesting.
invitation
No, you're fine.
to
Thank you for
begin with.
having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
I really
Well,
appreciate
everybody,
it.
I want to thank everybody who's watched or who will watch. I think I got everybody's comments up. Um, I didn't want to interrupt the conversation by answering, but
Yeah,
showing
yeah,
them we acknowledge and are saying thank you
yeah,
and hello back and all that.
yeah.
Um, their show is on it. I live on the Pacific Coast, and so the Things Network. I think it's on
Tuesday.
Simply Spooky too,
Yeah,
on
it's on.
Tuesday at 11 a.m.
So it's
and
7 o'clock UK time.
yeah, and then on
Wednesday,
Wednesdays is the
8
Simply
o'clock
Spooky show.
UK time. I
Yeah,
don't know
which
what
is
it is. What's it Pacific time?
noon.
Noon. So
Yeah,
yeah, so it's 8 o'clock here,
yeah,
UK time.
yeah. Um, when it comes to changing the times during the fall and spring,
Yeah, yeah,
we go a week or two where we're out of sync because George
yeah.
Bush.
Because the float. Yeah.
Yeah, we were all the countries in the world were in sync until we had a president that decided to throw the monkey wrench in it for some weird reason. But anyway, that's the
Yeah.
US for you.
No, that's it.
So thank you all so much.
Thank
And
you, guys.
I will talk to you. Let me see this. Yeah, the first Saturday of July should be the next show. I have to look up my calendar to see who's on. So take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.